Hi, I'm Stephanie Lyons, a technology coach for the Plain Local School System. This is my analysis of the critical issues for a building level administrator. I asked the same 23 questions on critical issues that we answered in class. I used a Google form. I sent the form through an email to 12 Plain Local building level administrators, and I received 5 responses. The first area I looked at once I got the data was classroom instruction and classroom monitoring. Supervision of instruction is considered extremely critical to most of the respondents. However, classroom monitoring was only considered critical. This shows that data may be valued over classroom visits, which as a teacher I can say is very true in the Plain Local system. Classroom visits, especially at the high school level, are pretty much contained just to OTES walkthroughs and evaluations, where data is collected in classrooms on a weekly basis. Law and liability was the next section that I looked at. Keeping up with school laws is very critical or extremely critical to building level administrators. However, possible liability in the physical plant isn't seen quite as critical by building level administrators, and this has to do with a very strong business and maintenance staff who oversee those areas in each of the buildings. Finance was another one that was kind of a mixed bag as how administrators saw its importance. Fundraising opportunities and district finance kind of spanned over the areas from extremely critical all the way down to irrelevant. This shows that there's a really strong PTO and booster club presence in the school, as well as an extremely strong treasurer and treasurer's department. This was a really interesting area in maintaining relationships. Um, building administrators thought that relating effectively to the superintendent and having a strong positive relationship with staff were pretty much critical issues. It was a little different for relating effectively with the school board members. This may have to do with the fact that it's a large district with almost 6,000 students. And also, the board is very supportive. So building administrators might not feel that they have to spend a whole lot of time convincing the board members that we're doing the right thing. Some interesting findings were that maintaining compliance with union contracts and raising test scores actually had the same level of importance among these 5 administrators. This shows that both the district's current test scores are relatively high, and building administrators may feel that what they're doing is working and that the scores don't need to come up anymore, but they just need to be maintained. And also maintaining compliance with union contract. They saw that as very critical. And some might say that maybe there's a contentious relationship between the union and the administration, which isn't actually true in Plain Local. There's a very good relationship between building administrators, the superintendent, the school board, and the current union administration. Some things that I found really surprising in the results of this data were that facilitating and conducting faculty meetings were considered either critical or extremely critical, and one administrator actually didn't answer this question. And it's interesting looking at that from a teacher's perspective, because building meetings, staff meetings, even sometimes contact meetings are the thing we feel are the least important that we do, because they don't relate directly to dealing with or working with students. The other really surprising finding was supervising non-certified staff. Monitoring classrooms, monitoring instruction, didn't have 100% of a critical idea here, but principals found that monitoring non-certified staff is a very, very important thing that they do in their day-to-day work as a building level administrator. Building level does matter. Out of these 5 administrators, they spanned building levels. There were high school building level administrators, middle and elementary building level administrators. And the answers to these next questions could support the idea that the level does matter. And I took a look at these 4. Starting up in the upper left-hand corner, inventory of equipment, books, and supplies. At elementary level, that actually happens with the building administrator. They make sure that everyone has the books, has the supplies they need. Or at the high school level, usually department heads do that. So the English department head would make sure that teachers have the requisite books that they need. Supervision of extracurricular events was much more critical at the high school level because there are so many more extracurricular events happening in the high school level. Requisition and dispensation of supplies and keeping certain records, those were kind of all over the board as well, because at the high school level, there's so much more staff that takes care of those things. And the issues that weren't surprising at all were these six: class schedule, managing office staff, visibility, counseling, dealing with irate parents, and discipline. These all fell either in the extremely critical or critical um, areas for all the building administrators that I surveyed. And that doesn't surprise me at all. These are the things that seem the most important, or at least in the top 10 of the 23 questions that we answered. Taking a look at these critical issues really shows how much work it takes to be a building level administrator, whether it's a small district or a large district. This is a lot of things to contend with. And these 23 aren't the only 23. These are the 23 that are probably common among every building administrator, no matter where you are. But depending if you have a small school, a large school, a school with a large non English speaking population, those things also come into play too. So when taking a job, you really have to consider the makeup of the school that you're going into.